Today is Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, and this is What's Happening Dracut. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are happy you could join us tonight as we present our newest talk show magazine, What's Happening Dracut. It's a show about talk, politics, and all things in Dracut. We are coming to you live, but tomorrow via tape. Today, but live on Facebook. And like I said, tomorrow we will be rebroadcasting at 7 o'clock on normal time. But because of our hosts here being all tied up with our schedules, tomorrow was not able to be done. So we're here tonight. I'm your host, John Zimini. I've been a Dracut resident and a taxpayer for over 23 years. I'm a community activist, public servant, and a political junkie for more than 58 years. I am a three-term former Dracut selectman, having served Dracut for 9 years. Before being elected a selectman, I served on the Finance Committee, on the Cable, and also on the Cable Advisory Committee. I'm a retired 37-year public servant, and I hope to bring a politically honest perspective to our presentation, as well as keeping our show both interesting and fast-paced and stimulating. At this point, I'm going to introduce to you our co-host for this evening's show, Phil Thibault, who is a professional architect, and he brings a mountain of experience with municipality committees. And we're going to let Phil introduce himself. Say hello, Phil.
Well, thank you, John. So my experience is along the lines of community design development. So I've been on the planning board, Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, which is a regional planning organization, capital planning, and the Permit Building Committee, where we've overseen construction of, I think, eight or nine buildings over the past 15 years. So if there's a question about how the town of Dracut is growing, I can probably answer it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Phil was very instrumental in the new fire station being built in Collinsville. Correct, Phil?
That's correct, yeah. And that was initially through the Capital Planning Committee when Chief Brule had come in. That was his number one desire, to get a new fire station in Collinsville. So I took it upon myself to find him a location.
Phil, I know you're a very modest guy, and you're not like Gordy or I that want to be out there and get platitudes, but you're getting better at it. But tell us the truth. Will they give you any credit at all for where and how that building got built?
No, but because I'm on the building committee, my name will go on the plaque.
Boy, that's like a cockroach running around the room. They're trying to stomp, but they keep running into the corner, and with those square shoes, they can't get you.
No.
Our second co-host is a very affable young man, younger than us for sure, who has a lovely wife who loves the show, but her favorite commentator and her favorite host is Gordy Scott.
No,
it's Gordy Scott. Who is it, Gordy? Really?
She likes you.
Really? Yeah. I love her too.
Well, she's watching us right now.
Yes, I bet she is. Now, Gordy is a computer operations engineer, and he's been a community activist here in town for many, many years. And in particular, he's interested in the town budget and youth activities, and he's been a high school basketball coach, and he's also a referee for basketball.
Yes.
What do you do with that, Gordy?
Yeah, so I do both boys and girls basketball. On the girls' side, I'm a varsity referee, and on the boys' side, I do mostly JV and a lot of youth stuff on the weekends. So been pretty busy. Tonight, I actually have up-to-date news. Dracut won tonight against Methuen in the first round of the playoffs, 53-51. So congratulations to the Dracut Middies, the boys, and they'll be playing North Andover on Friday at 5 o'clock. So something to keep an eye on. They're in the Division I playoffs, and for a Division III school like Dracut, which Dracut is now, that's pretty impressive. And they're moving on to the next round of the playoffs in the Division I small school. So it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. We have some more breaking news later on in the show about high school sports in Dracut, right? Many people might already know, but many may not. So we're going to break that here tonight. But Gordy, we're happy to have you here. And so what's happening, Dracut? It's a political news talk show magazine where we're going to bring you interesting topics occasional guests along with a lot of stimulating talk, discussion, and debate aimed at trying to keep the voters, taxpayers, and businesses in Dracut informed as to what's happening in Dracut and around Dracut, both politically, civically, and financially in our very small hamlet and our little corner of the world. You can join us on Facebook Live. You may be already on here with us, and Phil and Gordy and I are going to try to keep you updated as to who is on here. And if you have any comments, we'll repeat them. If you'd like to call in, you're welcome to call in. And our phone number is 978-957-4243. But you can also join us tomorrow as we rebroadcast at 7 o'clock on Channel 8 on DracutTelevision.org or on Comcast Channel 8. So tonight we normally have weather with Sean. Well, unfortunately, Sean
is under the weather.
He's a little bit under the weather, pun intended. So he's had a little bout for the last couple of weeks. We hope he's doing well. I did speak to him via text today, and I did see him online yesterday. So I think he's getting better, and he'll be back with us next time.
I know he keeps himself very busy, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's essentially run himself a little ragged.
Yeah, I'm sure. He's got a couple of jobs.
Certainly wish him the best.
He is. He works for Channel 7.
Channel 7.
And we're happy to have him with us. He's a Channel 7.
Yep.
Now, what does he do for Channel 7? Is he a weekend guy, or is he just the behind the guy?
I know it's with meteorology, but to be honest, I'm not exactly sure of what he does.
And he runs Mill City Weather, I know that.
Yes, Mill City Weather is a very popular web page. It's also got a Facebook page. Make sure you look him up and like him, follow him.
If I want to know the weather, I ask Sean.
And he's right on the money.
He's been always good.
Valley. He's right on the money. But I think he does a lot of graphics for Channel 5 and Channel 7. Ooh, sorry, Sean. Channel 7. So he'll be back with us hopefully next week. But today we have our Cub reporter in the house. He's not on the set. Our Cub reporter, Richard Silvio, who's a high school junior. He's 16 years old, but you would never know that he's 16. He's huge into national politics, loves to be able to talk national politics, and he does it very articulately, and he's able to debate people very well. But he's our Cub reporter here on what's happening Dracut. And we tell him, we tell him, Richard, you can go out and videotape something and do a story on whatever's interesting you. So this week, he said he's going out to do something on COVID and high school. So we have a videotape, and we're going to present that to you now. Take it away, guys.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Silvio, reporting for What's Happening Dracut, a political talk show focusing on the politics in the town of Dracut and how it affects people in their everyday lives. I'm currently at the Dracut High School, where I am joined by Mrs. Lindsay Page Hickson. How are you, Miss Hickson?
Hi, Richard. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. So tell me, how long have you been teaching in the Dracut public school system?
I've been in Dracut for 10 years.
10 years, wow.
Mm-hmm. I know, right?
So, being here so long, it must have came to a shock to you when, COVID first happened in March and so many schools were forced to shut down. What were your immediate reactions when that happened?
Well, at first we were told that it was just going to be 2 weeks. So we were like, okay, let's, sit down and make lesson plans for 2 weeks and enrichment sort of activities and content. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, they were saying, oh no, this is going to be for the rest of the year. Right. So then we had to make different lesson plans.
So, once you learned that this was going to be a long-time thing, did the school assist you, with or guide you when making new lesson plans? Did they give any tips, hold any seminars? What was that looking like?
Absolutely, they helped. So at that time, I was at the middle school, and they put together a structured schedule, and they said every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you will post a recorded lesson. Mm-hmm. And then every Tuesday, Thursday, you will hold late help or office hours, and you will meet with your kids and see how they're doing and help them with late help if they need it.
So have you been enjoying this new model? Have things been going smoothly for the most part?
Yeah, so far so good. I'm pretty pleased with the protocols that are put in place and the kids abiding by the safety precautions when they're in the building.
So, being in a building with so many teachers and students, mind you, even though it's at 50% capacity, there are still quite a few people in the building. Do you feel safe? Do you think the school is doing a good job mitigating the risk of transmissions of COVID-19?
I do think they're doing a good job. We have one-way hallways. We have 50% capacity, like you were saying. The desks are about 6 feet apart. They're sanitized often. You see custodians in the hallways with
Right.
cleaning supplies. So, yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the people of Dracut?
Just continue to wear your mask and wash your hands. That's it.
Awesome. This is Miss Lindsay Page Higson. I'm Richard Silvio. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm currently joined by Mr. Eric Jackson at Dracut High School. Would you like to tell us more about yourself, Mr. Jackson?
Sure. My name is Eric Jackson, and I've been an educator in the science department for the last 18 years.
18 years, that's certainly a long time.
Well, yes, it's been a journey.
It's been a journey. Being in the education system for so long, it must have came to a great shock to you when, COVID first hit in March. Tell me, what were you feeling when that shutdown first happened?
So we definitely were mostly concerned about our students and our students' safety, which is where most of our focus went early in the spring. There was a lot of data, or rather, I should say, there was an absence of data, which we took to mean to take a lot of caution. I am sure there's some people in hindsight who are like, "Oh, we totally could have been back in school," but with the data that we had, that was the best decision that we had. After that. It was definitely a challenge to relearn how to teach through a little tiny box as opposed to teaching into a big box like this.
So, having students back in the building and, remote, have you seen a reduction at all in student participation or student grades? How is that looking?
Well, I don't see an overall reduction in student grades, and student participation is always an issue. It is much harder for us as teachers to intervene because there are a number of tools that we utilize that are, let's say, less formalized, more casual, like the casual catching up with somebody in the hallway or talking to somebody after class. It really isn't as much of an option. So we're sort of we've been forced to get creative and really try very hard to have things more formalized, which often doesn't work for some students. So my answer to that is, am I seeing a drop-off in student performance? Yeah, but I'm seeing a drop-off in teacher performance, and I'm seeing a drop-off in principal performance, and I'm seeing a drop-off in in garbage man performance. Everybody is stressed out over this. It's really just it's a very difficult time, and I think that stress from the pandemic is the driving force behind any issues. I think all of our teachers are working incredibly hard in this difficult situation. And I want to be really clear. Richard was in my class this past fall, and all of my students are working incredibly hard to sort of overcome this thing. We're all we're all in this together kind of a thing.
Right. So circling back for a second, you mentioned the school following all the CDC guidelines. What type of precautions have taken place in the building to prevent the risk?
Okay, well, right now you and I are sitting approximately 6 feet apart, which is the social distancing, which is a large deal. The school instituted a number of pathways in the hallway to prevent students from gathering at various times. The mask mandate, of course. We've cut down on the number of students who are allowed in bathrooms to prevent folks being in sort of confined spaces for extended periods of time. And of course, the hybrid program, which is keeping a lot of people out of the school. And just to circle back to what you were saying about the Remote Learning Academy, I'm not sure we could pull off this. We couldn't be pulling off this hybrid program if we didn't have a substantial chunk of our students also out at the Remote Learning Academy. So that group there is really, I think they're pulling a lot of serious, they're helping us out a lot.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the people of Dracut or parents who may be concerned to send their kids back to the classroom?
So, if you're concerned about your child, there's no reason not to hold your student at home. The Remote Learning Academy is working fine. But you know your student best, right? You know your student best. So you should approach everything with that in mind. Your teachers are here to do their job. We are all doing it under extremely stressful circumstances, and I guess mostly I would say to the parents, maybe maybe not as stress. Again, it's difficult for an educator to say. Maybe we don't stress performance quite as much, but this is the year where we all should reflect a bit more and maybe push a bit less and be, sort of see what we have, see what we've learned. Because there's a lot of things being learned this year, a lot of perseverance, a lot of working under pressure that our students are going to carry with them as a bonus moving forward. So let's not concentrate on the things that they might lose. Let's concentrate on the things they're experiencing right now and build on those.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Mr. Jackson. So, ladies and gentlemen, in a few minutes, we are going to be joined by the secretaries in the main office of the Dracut High School to see how they feel about the COVID issue. Well, until then, this has been Eric Jackson. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Dracut.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm currently joined by two of the secretaries in the main office of the Dracut High School. Would you both like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'm Denise Keefe.
I'm Kim Valenti.
Well, I'm so glad both of you, decided to come on. So let's just jump in and discuss the elephant in the room. COVID-19, March, the shutdowns first happened, schools were closed, that kind of came out of nowhere. What was running through your guys' head? How were you dealing with that?
We were nervous, not knowing what to expect, how dangerous it was, and then just trying to figure out how we were going to work from home. So,
Yeah, personally for me, I just started with Dracut High School 6 months prior. So it was a little challenging because I was still learning the job. And like she said, not knowing what was going on. And that was a little scary. And we didn't know, what to expect. But it went okay.
So, we're back in the building now. Things are different. The school obviously looks different. What exactly are some of the differences that people may notice walking into the building?
I feel like it's a lot quieter.
Yeah.
And, just having to pay attention to where you're going, things are different. But everybody's been doing great with following the guidelines in the building. And
well, speaking of guidelines, what type of things are we seeing in the building? What type of protocols or protective agents?
I'll say the staff has been excellent. Like everybody's got yardsticks to make sure students are socially distanced in the classrooms. Custodians are putting canister wipes in the rooms every day for students to wipe down desks after class. And then we have the hand sanitizers. Like everybody seems to be following the protocol.
Well, is there anything else you two would like to say to the people of Dracut?
just that, we're all trying to do the best that we can to make sure everybody's safe in the building, and just everybody try to be kind to everyone.
And I just say, stay safe, wash your hands, and we got this. We're almost done. Hopefully there's a light at the end of this tunnel soon.
Hopefully. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been sitting down with these two wonderful ladies. Up next, we're going to be joined by Ronald Mercier, the health teacher in the building, to see how he feels on the same subject. Well, until then, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm joined with Mr. Ronald Mercier here at the East Wing of the high school. Hello, Mr. Mercier. How are you?
Doing good, Richard. My name is Ronald Mercier. I work at the high school, teaching mostly sophomores, health and wellness, Wellness 2. It's a mandatory class that the students have to take in order to graduate.
So starting the new year, are you seeing how's participation looking? Is there still a severe drop in participation or even grades?
I get fairly decent participation. It's definitely better when the students are here. Some students actually like it, to be home and kind of do it, maybe they just feel more comfortable at home. Me personally, I'd rather be here. I wish they were all back in school, unfortunately, but because of the numbers and stuff that they have to do, and the school's doing a good job of those protocols, keeping everything in place. So.
I'm glad you mentioned the protocols, because I wanted to mention that to you. What are some of the things the school is doing? Do you feel the school is doing a good job, keeping everybody safe and mitigating the risk of COVID?
Yeah, I believe so. They took out basically half the desks in every classroom. The lunchrooms are set up differently. They're spread out more. Students are eating in different places. The schools, I've never seen it so clean. I think they're doing a great job, from the supervisor in building grounds, Mr. Graham, in the direction that they've been following, and everybody. You see people throughout the day. scrubbing lockers, doors, and wiping the desks down after every student leaves, hand sanitizers in every classroom, and at every basically bathroom break.
So is there anything else that you'd like to say to the people of Dracut?
Hopefully this is all over soon, and we can get back to somewhat things being normal. I really hope for it, but everything's going good here, and hopefully the school will be open for other types of activities where the community can come in and go to basketball games, go to football games, all those types of things, and hopefully that happens within the near future.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, you heard it here first with Ronald Mercier at the Dracut High School. My name is Richard Silvio. This has been a Dracut Chronicles report. Have a lovely night, ladies and gentlemen.
Very good.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back. What a great piece. That was an awesome piece by Richard Silvio. We're very happy to have him on our staff, helping us out as much as we can, and as much as he can. So, what's new with you? Anything you want to bring up before we get into the meat of this, or you want to just jump right in?
Let's jump right in.
Let's jump right in. Okay, let's talk about Justin George. That poor guy has gone through political hell in this town, all because Justin expressed his civic right, his civic duty, his First Amendment right to speak his mind at a public meeting, a town meeting. Do you remember that meeting?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Very
so
well.
why don't you give us a little background on it?
Well, I think it all started where he went to the town meeting to ask for, because he's in the National Guard, so when he went off on the weekends, what would happen is they would pay him for the National Guard, and he would be losing a little bit of money because he wasn't getting his firefighter salary, because they would pay him the difference. So he felt that he should be getting paid from his firefighter salary and the National Guard salary if he was scheduled to work. So, and I think that's fair. It should be one of the benefits that a town employee receives. Most private companies I know do that. My company does that. If you're part of the National Guard, that's a paid benefit that you get. So I totally agree with him on that. So he went in front of town meeting because that wasn't the way the law was written in town. So he went in and put a warrant article up to have the town members vote to see if they would pass that. And it was a close vote, but it was voted down. And then after that, he was chastised by the town manager, by the fire chief, by the whole town, and then, they put him on leave, administrative leave. So he was really run through the ringer, and he went to the selectmen's meeting and made an impassioned speech to tell everyone what the real story wasn't the political side of the story, one side of the story. And I'll never forget. I know in my lifetime I'll never forget that. I was brought to tears. My wife and I were watching
Absolutely.
it.
We were in the audience. Phil and I were in the audience that night.
That had to be one of the most impassioned speeches, as you say, I've ever heard in Dracut.
Now, Phil, we know that the manager at the time and the fire chief will never say that he got called out and got suspended for that reason. It's for other things. They trump up these things that he did while on the job and stuff like that, which, by the way, he's won his case before the civil service.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he did. And now they're about to go forward with a civil lawsuit, which the town is going to end up being responsible for millions of dollars, I think. But the guy is currently going under so much pressure. Here's a man that served our country. I think he had at least 2 tours over in overseas in either Iraq or Afghanistan, and he comes back here. He goes back to work, and he's trying to do the right thing for his colleagues his veteran colleagues, and they lambaste him and they put him through the mill to the point where he needs to try to find another place to work because he can't.
I don't know how he'll find that because he's.
Well, you know what? Today's world, we have a do not touch list.
Right.
I won't call it what they used to call it.
Right.
Right? Because we don't want to insult anybody. But what they used to call it was not.
It's the woke culture now.
Yeah. So now what happens is, it doesn't take much. We know that you know, people's personnel files are very private. They're not, it's against the law to say anything that's in a person's personnel file. But you can give a wink and a nod, and if you happen to be at a Chiefs Association meeting and you run into, let's say, the Natick police chief, fire chief, and you know, they have a conversation.
What do you think of so-and-so?
Oh, we have one of your guys coming down trying to get a transfer. What do you think?
I wouldn't
wink and
do
nod, you know, they'll never testify.
So, I mean, for any employer, that's something that comes up quite often. And of course, you know, when you're calling up for a reference and they say, "Yep, he worked here."
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I mean,
that's all you're supposed to file. Yep.
But
and they worked here from this date to this date, and that's it.
Exactly. So, you know, you know that typically if they've been an employee that you would think had good recommendations, you would just be gushing all of them. Oh, great employee, well, you know, everything. If you want to
Just somebody.
all you do is say yes. I can confirm he worked here. That's it.
He worked here. If you want to join in the conversation, call us up at 978-957-4243. But to continue on this line for a minute, you know, I want to preface this by saying all of my comments are not coming from Justin George. He continually tells me no comment because he's in the middle of a battle and he doesn't want to jeopardize that, as well as he doesn't need any more aggravation. But does anyone in this room think that Justin George hasn't been on the hit list at Dracut for expressing his free speech? Do you think he's not on the hit list yet?
Wow. Politically, I know a lot of people who are on hit lists, and he certainly would be one.
I think we're all on the hit list, too.
Oh, we're on the hit list, yeah. Oh, yeah, we got big targets.
He's on the list with us.
I watch out for little red dots on my body when I go out, you know. But
it's unfortunate. Somebody who's dedicated so much service to the town of Dracut.
Political history shows, Phil.
That's it. I'm out of here.
That Joe DeRocco has said publicly. He said on one of his political campaign speeches or pieces that he did here at DATV that he takes political revenge.
And I know I'm on the list. I was offered the freshman basketball job by the head coach, the varsity coach, and then it got because I'm on part of the cancel culture, and didn't get the job.
Yep,
athletic director cut that right out.
Because you speak up at town meeting and you're on a political talk show and it's all that. I mean,
it happened to me. I got hit too. So,
but have you ever had an experience at your job where you could not talk about a certain issue without retribution in some way? Okay. Well, today we're living in a culture where if you speak out and you put something on social media, you're dead meat.
Yep. Right.
You could be dead meat. I have a doctor. Who's very good. I'm not going to say what nationality she is, but she's from another country, and she's very, very good. I love her to death. I mean, I love her so much. She's so good with everything for me, and personally, she's very caring, but she's so afraid. We have personal talks. She's all on the same page with us, and she comes from a culture where she was oppressed, and her family was oppressed. But the bottom line is, she was able to at least speak and not fear for political retribution like that, you know?
We're supposed to be in America where that's supposed to be allowed.
But, you know, Justin George was actually called a cancer by whoever dissed him. And, you know, you don't want him on the department. So he got right up to the doorstep and then it got canceled. I got to ask you this. You got a former fire chief on the Board of Selectmen who sat on the subcommittee, on the firefighter, on the public safety subcommittee for the entire time he's been on the board. Can you name anything that he's done to help the fire department or the police department, Phil?
I can't think of anything he's done to help the town.
Period. You're right.
Period.
You're right. And would you think that he would be using that position to further the men and women who serve in our public safety?
You would think so, since that's the job he served prior to becoming the selectman.
Yeah,
so you would think if there was a position he'd want to fight for, you would think that.
But you know what he's really after? he's after this show, and he's after these
Dracut
people.
Access TV.
And he's after Tammy Dristolaris and Dracut Access TV for nonsense, because he'll never, he's got the Lowell son, or the Lowell scum, whichever you want to call it, under his thumb so badly that they've got a narrative out there that Dracut Access Television, which we'll get into later, is a public entity, and it's not. So we'll get into that later. But all Joe DeRocco is, and by extension, members of the board that support what Joe DeRocco does by letting him get away with it, standing up there week after week, dissing personally me and Phil and Tammy and you to some extent, he just continually bashes everybody. But he's done nothing for the men and women on the fire department.
I think I heard a stat just recently that there are less officers and firefighters in the departments than there were 15 years ago.
Yep.
So we actually have a net decrease in our first responders.
Well, John, let me just jump in here. I think he has done something for the fire department. He's protected his friend, the fire chief.
That's the only person. That's the only person.
If you remember back to the MRI report, where a scathing report came out and kind of got brushed under the rug, that talked about the issues with the fire department, because they did an MRI did a report on the police department,
right.
And then they also did one on the fire department. It was brought up on one of the selectmen's meetings. There was an article in the Lowell Sun about it, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared.
Are we on right now on Facebook? Because I got a couple of messages that we may not be, and it might be a local issue around your homes. So try to reboot your internet.
Yeah, it seems like it's on.
It's
yeah,
on.
I'm getting a connection.
We've got about 25. I got about 20 on my home site, and you got about 20, 25, I think, on the Facebook page. It's great. But I wanted to get into a little bit more about this. Joe, when I first came on the board, Joe had been on the board for a year, and what I did was Bobby Cox and I came on together, and the first motion we made was to, by the way, selectmen can make motions, and they can present ideas. But I haven't seen this board or the past 5 boards, other than maybe 1 or 2 people that make suggestions.
Ask for a report, maybe.
Ask for a report, or ask for silly reports, by the way. But none of them have made a motion to do anything. For instance, how about saying to the manager, make a motion to hire, in the next budget, make provisions to hire 6 new police and 6 new firefighters. Right. You know who did that? John Zimini, when he was on when he was on the board. You know who saved the town millions of dollars by enacting coalition bargaining, so that the manager had the right to coalesce all of the unions together to discuss and negotiate a better deal for the town and for the employees when it comes to health insurance? You know who made that motion? John Zimini. But you won't hear that from any of those guys. You know why? Because John Zimini didn't benefit by any of that. They did. But they don't tell you about how they take care of their friends. But let's move on for just a minute here, okay? This leads us all up to the MRI report, right, Gordy? Yep. Have you seen the MRI report?
It's been a while. I mean, that came out
correct
4 years ago.
And we've let that ferment for a little while. Ferment. And you know what I'm talking about when I say ferment?
Yeah.
What did we do? We tried to let the Board of Selectmen and the town
gave them a chance.
Do something.
Yep.
And Joe DeRocco, who's on the Public Safety Committee, got out and lambasted the report and lambasted the people who responded to the report. So, Gordy, give a little hint to the folks of what we're going to do to try to make this report come out in public a little bit more.
Yeah, so we have a copy of the report. So I was surprised because I hadn't read it. I just read what was in the paper about it. So when you look at the report and actually look at the recommendations from MRI, it was pretty eye-popping, the report, but you never really heard what was inside the report. So I took a quick glance at it, and what I thought was interesting, which they brought up at the time, is they published the survey results. I think there was 15 questions, survey questions they gave to all the employees, and I think it was 36 firefighters. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to put that survey online and send an invitation out to all the firefighters out there. And let's retake that survey that MRI posted first and see if there's been any improvement.
And it will be anonymous. Nobody will
Anonymous,
be able to trace
right?
it.
Absolutely.
And we could see what's going on. I mean, the report is scathing, folks. It's scathing, and in so many,
Well, it's really against the fire chief if you read it.
comments about racism, comments about ethnic issues.
They haven't had an annual review. They never do annual reviews.
They haven't done an annual review ever.
So how do you know if
review?
you're doing a good job or you're not doing a good job?
Meaning the staff,
Right.
meaning the firefighters.
Right.
Correct. So we're going to get into that more and more as we go ahead, and the spring's going to bring a lot of good things forward. But we need to move along a little bit quicker here because we're already running out of time. Well, we have a spring election coming up, so we've been doing some research, right, Phil? Behind the scenes, we've been trying to find out what's going on because the elections are very, very quiet. And we have some people out there, our little birdies, that like to call us and tell us things. And so we understand that there's a strong rumor, and I normally don't talk about rumors because I'm afraid that you might be set up on them, but we've heard this from 3 or 4 sources. And I think it was even mentioned publicly last Saturday on a certain radio show that not specifically, but I'm going to get into a little bit more specifics because it's a strong enough rumor for us to put it out there. And if it's wrong, prove us wrong and we'll apologize, right, Phil? But the rumor around town now is that Jesse Forcier has sold his house, which that's not a rumor, that's true, and that he has moved out of that house, that we cannot confirm it whether or not he's living in Dracut at this particular moment. There are rumors that he's living on Lincoln Lane. As a public official, don't you think that the address of a public official should be common knowledge?
I would think so, and I would think they would want to live in the town that they're
Right.
Right.
And you used to have, for the purpose of people being able to contact you, your phone number was published, right? Our phone numbers were always published. My minimum
I guess
was
you
always
could call
published.
the main office at the selectman's office. Shannon would answer the phone. I
Yeah,
guess.
well, you should be able to get in touch with an elected official without having to go through the office. I mean, we're in I know we're in dangerous
2021.
times, and you don't want to out
2021.
somebody. Or
Well,
whatever.
I'll let you. So when I was the chair of the manager screening committee,
Yep.
I tried getting in touch with the chairman of the selectmen, and
Yep.
when, as the saying goes, when the phone don't ring, I'll know it's you calling me.
Exactly.
He never returned a phone call to me,
Wow.
and I was somewhat dumbfounded by that.
So the rumor is that he's going to resign, and they're waiting for that resignation. And why would they be waiting for a resignation, Phil?
Well, if he resigns, then there would need to be another election.
Right.
So if he resigned before the
Before the ballots.
May election, the ballots are created, you could actually host the special election with the regular election, actually have two seats.
Now,
up
why
for
do you
election.
think they wouldn't want 2 seats on the same ballot? And when I talk about they, I'm talking about the good old boys of good old boy Town West.
Because they have their people in mind.
Well, because they want to keep control, and they can't get 2 seats elected on the Board of Selectmen. Now, if people out there would say, what's so big about being a selectman? And correct, if you talk to Tammy Dristeleris, who just left, just retired from the board, so to speak, never really retired because you're always speculated to be a possible run, right? I left the board a few years ago because I had a lot of health issues and things going on, so I left, and I wanted to dedicate more time to my family. But that became boring, and I wanted to, my family had flown the nest, and now I want to be involved again, right? So, but when I left, I was a thorn in their side because they never could control me.
That's the only reason I used to watch the selectmen's meetings, is because you were on.
And we never knew each other before I first
and
met.
I remember I came up to you the first
Yeah.
time we met, and I said, John, I love watching the selectmen's meeting. It's like watching a reality TV show.
Oh, because I know the Robert's rules probably almost as good as Phil Thibault knows them. Because Phil Thibault's been a fantastic chairman on many of the committees. But I have a little bit of age and experience on him because I was also on the board of Aldermen in Chelsea for 2 terms, and I served as the chairman of that board, the youngest member of that board to ever serve. I think I was 26 years old at the time on that particular board. But they don't want to have 2 people on the ballot because they can't run 2 people at the same time and win both seats.
Well, and that's a very good and a valid point, because if you have 2 seats that are running and one has an incumbent and one is open, well, you'll probably have 5 or 6 people running because there's an open seat.
Now, I know when I ran, there was 5.
Yeah.
It was 5 or 6. And I know you ran one time.
This most recent election was actually 2 open seats, and I think there were 5 people running for those.
Didn't you run against me one time? I'll run for the Saints.
No, I actually ran against Ken Kuna.
Oh, all right. Okay.
My first time running, I was against Ken Kuna.
Hey, what's
And it'll be interesting to see if Johnny Joyce jumps into the race again.
Johnny Joyce, a voice from the past. It would certainly, you see, Johnny Joyce, I like him. He's a funny guy, but he's an opportunist, and all he's doing is trying to help the good old boys split the vote. His career move, that's all that is. It has nothing to do with politics, because he doesn't know much about politics, unfortunately, and he should stick to comedy. And I don't even know how good he is at comedy.
Oh, what's the difference between comedy and politics?
That's true. That's very true. That's very true. But if they had 2 people now, this way, if they only have 1, and that's why they love the system we have in Dracut, where you elect 1 person on 1 seat, and that's Joe DeRocco, and they would never, folks, never let Joe DeRocco have a special election the same ballot as him, because that would jeopardize Joe. Because somebody could jump in and that would split the vote, and it could jeopardize Joe. We don't want that kind of an election. So they don't care about you and your tax dollars, because a special election is going to cost you and me money. Now, if this is all wrong,
I would say around $10,000.
Yeah,
if not more, 15 maybe.
If I'm wrong, then prove us wrong. Come out and say it. Come out and say it. I'm amazed that the local dying fish wrapping isn't on this story. I'm just amazed by it, because that's a true story. They'd rather be bashing DATV, a local entity that is a private corporation, basically. But so that's basically where I'm at. We're still trying to find out reality, whether or not Jesse is resigning and whether or not he really lives in Dracut. There are other things going on that smells about the whole thing. And of course, Jesse will do whatever his puppet master says, and his puppet master is, without a doubt, Jesse Forcier.
Well, again, we found that out with the town manager search, where the whole search was just abruptly abandoned.
Right, exactly. So now, if there is a special election, right, who would be the likely candidate? Do you know? Have you got any ideas? Well, there is a candidate out there.
Is there already?
Already, there is. And you haven't.
Well, if you look
I didn't
at
even talk to you about this, did I?
No.
There is a candidate out there already, and there were several people approached to run in a special election. They want to make sure, because this is a swing seat. If Jesse were to resign and there's a special election, and they were to have some unknown factor, some unknown person, let's say like anybody for that matter, let's say Phil Thibault runs and wins, that's an unknown, not an unknown to the town, but they can't control that person. Let's say a John Zimini or a Tammy Dristolares or
A Gordy
Scott. Gordy Scott would make a wonderful candidate. I know, Jen. Don't be on my doorstep with that shotgun. I know. But I get it. But I told Gordy, you're getting in the wrong business if you don't have thick skin. So at any rate, he'd be a great candidate. But there are others out there also. I mean, I see some young people out there that are coming up in the ranks that aren't quite there yet, that will be there soon, and they will be candidates, and they will be surprised. The people will be surprised by them. So we don't want to keep beating that dead horse, but we are trying to track down for real what's going on. We got about 13 minutes left. So now, should I mention who the candidate is? I will say this. I had a text messaging conversation with that candidate. And The candidate acted surprised, and all right, maybe he was surprised that I already knew, but the candidate did not deny that he might be a candidate.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now, there was another candidate that was approached, and that candidate is from a well-known family in town, and I can't reveal who that is yet because I haven't heard it from a third source. I'm waiting for a third source to give me that. And once I get the third source, then I'll put it out there. And that's another interesting candidate, a former attorney. So we'll see what happens there.
You think Kathy Richardson could run her?
Kathy Richardson would be a formidable candidate, whether you believe it or like it or not.
Right.
She'd be a formidable candidate because she has had time and space from when she was on the last board, and she's well-known name. Time and space, well-known name. You could always make a comeback.
Right.
I think Donald Trump is going to be a person who's going to make
Have a time and
huge
space.
comeback.
Yeah.
He'll have time and space, and in politics that means something. So tell us, what's up with the school committee? Do you know what's going on with the school committee?
I haven't-
There's a race. Who's up for that seat? Whose seat is up? I think it's Joe Wilkie.
Joe Wilkie
Is it Joe Wilkie?
and Sue Kufakazos.
And Sue Gufakafos. Now, there is somewhat of an underlying undertow that Joe may have had enough. Have you heard that?
Well, just to get back to the managers, the town manager search committee, Joe was also on it, and I know he was very upset when essentially the process was abandoned and the screening committee was essentially ditched. I mean, we were just left there out in space to wither and die, if you want. And Joe was very upset. I mean, I have to admit, all the committee members were very upset. Joe was also.
Yeah. We've had a couple of people making comments online, so it's very interesting to see. There's one comment is saying that Jesse Dow is a non-taxpayer because he doesn't own a home and he votes on taxes. But, and we also have heard that about Joe DeRocco too, not being a taxpayer. But I don't think that prohibits somebody from running.
No, and to be honest,
I might not give them the compassion. That
I've never really liked that particular reasoning myself because
although I think it's a valid point.
If you pay rent, then you are paying taxes.
Yeah, but and I think it's just another hit on a person who really shouldn't be on there because it's selfish reasons. Why did Joe want to be on there? Just to be relevant and to be a force in town where he's can take care of his buddies, because that's exactly what he does. He hasn't done anything else.
No.
I've asked it 100 times. Can anybody tell me one thing that he's done that has helped the town? One thing that he's proposed, not voting for something that the manager proposed or the Economic Development Committee proposed or the school committee proposed. Something you've done, something you have done.
Well, he'll probably bring up that he had some sort of master plan for a number of fire stations in Dracut.
Well, yeah.
And my response to that has always been, just because you make a grocery list doesn't mean you know how to cook. So, yes, you can say, we need 3 new fire stations in Dracut, and if you leave it at that, it doesn't mean anything.
Angel, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you what you said. Did you see what Angel said? I'm not going to use her last name, but she's on Facebook, and she knows. She's not afraid to use her name. But, Angel, I totally agree with you. I don't like the candidacy of Kathy Richardson, but by the same token, she could be a candidate, and she could be a formidable candidate. I'd like the schools department, the people in the schools, to tell me one thing Joe's done for schools. Nothing. Not a thing. I mean, if I were a candidate, I would be jumping up and down saying, why don't we give the schools a little break? And the way of giving the schools a little break would be something within the power of the board, requesting the manager, who you manage, to give a break to the schools on, let's say, chargebacks.
Chargebacks, yeah.
Right? I mean, the town uses the chargebacks to balance the budget. So they give the money to the schools, and then they take it away in form of charging back for rubbish removal, snow removal, anything they do administratively. They charge them to the tune of millions.
Yeah. Well, that one alone, this plowing the snow. Don't charge them to plow the snow.
Right.
I mean,
That would it save a school
It would-
teacher? Would
it
it
would
help
certainly
put
help.
some maybe put a air filter in some of the school classrooms or whatever?
It would help.
How about something like that? There's no reason why they couldn't do that. There's no reason why. To me, it's always been something that I'm not really crazy about on the chargebacks, but that would be something I would talk about. But now, Gordy, let's get to the meat here, because we got about 7 minutes left, and I wanted to talk a little bit about national politics. There was a little bit of a blow-up at the last meeting of the school committee.
Yes,
At the
there
end of
was.
the meeting. Did you see it?
I didn't see it, but I
You
heard
about it.
I heard
Yeah.
about it.
Did you hear about it, Phil?
I have to admit, I did not.
Oh, you better get back. You better
I
get
got
with
it.
the program, buddy.
I guess I should just stop working so
Yeah,
I can
stop
watch a lot of this stuff
money.
again.
Even though you're not making any in Dracut, make some money. Yeah, I know you're traveling down the
Where
south.
is the
and
money going, John? Where is the money?
Well, Sue Gufagafis and Allison Volpe asked the superintendent, I believe, at the end of the meeting, and this is on tape, asked a question about where the stimulus money, the 1.2 or 1.3 million dollars in
$1.25
stimulus,
million, yeah.
where is it going? Where has it been spent? And from what I understand, the superintendent, maybe he was having a bad day, had a bad meeting or something, he blew up. And he said, of all the things going on in our school and all the good things that are happening, and I'm paraphrasing because I'm not saying an exact quote, so I'm paraphrasing. He says, with all the things that are going on in the schools, all the good stuff that we're doing with the the remote learning and how hard our staff has worked. By the way, remote learning sucks, folks. It sucks. And you can't use another word for it. It's horrible. By the way, I want to say hello to Robert Hoey. Do you know who Robert Hoey
Yes.
is?
No, I don't.
Well, you better get up with the program now. Robert Hoey is my favorite Lowell politician. You know why? Because he says it like it is. Don't agree with him on everything he says or does, and neither he does with me, but he's a great guy that is a thorn up the butts of all the establishment politicians in Lowell. Great guy, Robert Hoey. I can't wait to get you on this show. He wants to come on with us, and we're going to get him on here soon. He's a great guy to listen to. Does little videos all the time.
John, historically, though, when you deflect like that,
Yeah.
you're hiding something. I'm not saying he is hiding something.
Oh, the superintendent?
Right. When you
Yes.
do things like that, normally,
Yeah,
hiding
exactly. The superintendent does, what's that saying? Does protest too much?
yes.
You know, something is up. What's going on? We're going to look further into that, and I think that's a little bit of a job for our reporter, Gordy Scott, who loves to do analysis of budgets and stuff. Let's see where some of that $1.3, $1.2 million is going. I'm going to bet that a little bit's gone to computerization for the kids, a little bit's gone into
Masks
Zoom,
to plastic.
but I'm
shields.
thinking a little bit's gone to retrofitting, sanitizing, and all that stuff. But I'm thinking jobs.
Something.
Somebody's been hired somewhere in here.
Someone's
with a
in the
nice,
kitchen
cushy
with
job.
Dinah. Someone's in the kitchen
Let's
with Dinah.
find out what that is. Well, folks, now the breaking news we have is that up until the other day, there was no real football coach. And the football season starts, I think, February 22nd. Am I right, Richard? He's not, he really doesn't know, but he's a football guy, believe it or not. I think. He's more of a politics guy. He's in the audience watching us, so he's laughing. I'm just playing with him a little bit. So we found out who the new football coach is, and he's a former Dracut kid. You know him. What's his name?
Josh
Gordy?
Porter.
Josh Porter.
Good guy. He's a good guy.
I dropped that on you this afternoon. You
Yeah,
didn't even know.
I didn't know.
See? So
He's a good guy, though. He'll be
good guy.
he's a good
But
guy.
I guess he's been. I don't know if he's got a contract yet. I don't know if he's been approved, and I don't know if the school committee is the school committee supposed to approve those, or is it just us?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's been before the school committee yet. So he might be working.
I wonder how
tentatively.
Jason Rivers feels about that too. The
Was he?
coach from a few years back.
Why was he?
He got let go.
Oh, really? Was he on the staff with Jason Rivers?
Yes.
This
He took
Porter-
over.
This Porter guy?
Yes, he was. I think the offensive coordinator.
Okay. Okay. Do you know what's his background in high school football?
He played Dracut. He was. I think he was on the Super Bowl team. I believe. The team that we beat Everett that year.
Oh,
We
good.
went to the Super Bowl. We won the whole thing. They have a ring. I also know he runs like a semi-pro team in Lowell. So he knows the game. He's a good kid. Well known in Dracut. Great guy.
So we wish him lots of luck. So we need an hour and a half, guys. We need an hour and a half. We're going to have to start pushing to get an hour and a half show because this is like crazy here. I've gone through the whole thing.
If you know anybody over at DATV, maybe we could talk to them.
I know. Oh, yeah, but we don't have any influence on that kind of stuff. If there's time, there's time. Are you guys getting ready to spend your $1,400 of the Corona kiss that's coming from Washington, D.C.? That Joe Biden is in Milwaukee tonight pushing, and he's pushing for trillions of dollars to be spent.
He's on CNN tonight, too.
And he's on CNN, and he's trying. He must have slept all day to get to that. But at the bottom line, he's out there today trying to push this coronavirus thing, and that's being pushed back on by many people in the House and the Senate, that this is so outrageous that they're going to put it. By the way, wasn't it supposed to be $2,000, Phil?
Yeah.
And now it's only $1,400.
But we got the $600 already.
Oh, so what? They didn't want the president then to get the credit for $2,000, so they gave him a pittance and said, let's make the people think we're doing something and give them $600. So when Joe gets in, we'll give him another $1,400, and they'll be having $2,000.
They'll say, look what Joe gave us.
Oh yeah, look
Trump
what Joe
only gave us $600.
So, but do you think there's any pork in that budget? In that thing?
Oh, it's all pork.
Like the Kennedy Foundation.
It's the states. It's the big sticking point is the money going to the states. They're bailing out all the Democratic cities, New York, L.A., California. They're bailing all those. I saw this. The mayor from Miami came up to. I guess Miami's hurting.
No, of course.
Time. So they're
and how
looking
about
for money.
Checks to illegal aliens too?
Right.
That's in the bill, as well as money for abortions in Afghanistan. Can you believe that the United States taxpayer pays for abortions in Afghanistan?
I'm not sure why any COVID money should be going outside of this country for anything.
Exactly.
And then why do they still have fencing up around the Capitol?
Exactly.
I thought walls don't work.
Oh, they don't work.
They don't work.
They don't work. Well, they're not working now because he's opened them.
Yep.
He's opened the borders, folks, and the borders are opening at a time when we have a pandemic, and nobody's being tested is coming across the border. Can you?
No, they get a blanket, a backpack, and a bus ticket.
They don't even get a mask?
Nope.
At least give them a mask.
Wow. So, Biden also canceled the Keystone Pipeline,
yeah.
which we'll get into a little bit more in the next time we meet. But we're down to 30 seconds.
Oh, and by the way, John McDonough says we should have 2 hours.
John McDonough, we want to get you on the show. Thank you very much for watching tonight. And I'm going to throw this to Phil to close. We're going to go back to all right, Gordy. Go ahead, Gordy.
All right, guys. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Congratulations to the Dracut Mini Boys basketball team as well. And when it's Wednesday night and it's 7 o'clock, it's What's Happening Dracut. Good night, Dracut.